the morning, Gus.
Top of the morning. It's good to see you again.
Again? But who are you?
I am Dingleberry Dervish,
It's
and
nice.
you?
Nice to meet you. I'm Carver Corn.
Nice to meet you, Mr. Carter Corn.
We have much to discuss due to my secretary over here. Would you like to discuss over a nice spot of tea and some biscuits?
Absolutely. It is tea time, after all.
It is tea. Now, I have a long list of things on our agenda today. Where would you like to start?
Well, I believe we should start where we started last year, the game of the year.
Ah, yes, such a great thing to bring up.
Absolutely. Do you recall what it was this time?
I do, however, I must viciously disagree with these Neanderthals.
I could not agree more. The pick this year was just not with it, as the kids say.
That's such an elegant way of saying it. I think Game of the Year should have been Lord of the Rings Gollum.
Absolutely. This game was a step above the rest, truly beyond every other game that came out within the past year.
I cannot think of a game that had more emotion, with some of the best animation in any game in this millennia.
It was so visually stunning, and the graphics were just so in-depth. I could see the nails on the characters.
I couldn't even tell if it was real or not.
Right? Tell me about it. And the storytelling, oh my goodness.
Don't get me started on this phenomenon of romance and comedy.
It was so unrealistic and realistic at the same time.
It was a masterpiece. It's despicable that it did not win a single award.
It wasn't even nominated. Truly an overlooked title.
This is showing how just different these proper folks are separated from the common folk. Those common folk think they know what's up, but it's the nobility that should be doing everything.
Exactly.
Now, I did bring up a point about the romance in Gollum, and that brings me to another game that had some interesting points. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called Baldur's Gate 3.
Ah, yes. What a terrible installment in the Call of Duty franchise.
Yes! I can't believe Call of Duty would switch from all where's the guns in Baldur's Gate 3? We need the guns, we need the ARs, and we need the romance between Captain Price and all the other female characters and all the other 20 Call of Duties.
Exactly. I was so depressed when I saw it did not have my favorite gun, the Uzi.
But all the magic and all the spells, witchcraft, they've summoned with the Saiyan himself.
Shun them! Shun the witches!
Send them to school!
Indeed.
All the studios. What studio is this? Larian Studios? That sounds like Lucifer.
Oh no, you've truly uncovered a plot here.
We've just outed them. You might want to get some extra security, good sir, just in case they come after our heads.
I will have to heed you on that.
Anyway, there's some other stuff on our list. Where would you like to start?
Well, there was another game that came out this past year that took the internet by storm. I didn't quite understand it, though. It was called Spider-Man 2.
Spider-Man? Is that how you pronounce it? I heard Spooderman across the kids say.
I mean, I could be wrong.
Spooderman 2.
I didn't really enjoy the game, you know. It was so long, I didn't end up finishing it. I just didn't have enough time.
Neither did I. I'm a very busy businessman with millions of businesses running every second.
Indeed, and you can't dump all of these hours into a game. It just doesn't work.
Especially a game like this, there's no creativity. There's no fun movement. It's very slow-paced compared to some other games.
Exactly, you just walk down the sidewalk.
And you interact with the bad guys? Like, what?
It was insane how boring this game was.
Blasphemy, I tell you, good sir. Blasphemy. I'm getting heated just thinking about the game. that it
I
even
couldn't agree more.
was nominated for the awards? Tisk tisk.
Tisk tisk indeed.
I need a spot of tea. Let me get a spot of tea.
Indeed,
I
take
have-
a good sip.
I have orange or brown tea.
Orange, I like some citrus tea.
Oh, good choice. Now,
Indeed.
next on our list is another game. I haven't heard of this game. I've heard different names for it, though, good sir.
I believe, are you referring to, what was it? Block Battle 6?
I think it was Corner Combat.
I did see somebody call it Street Fighter 6, but I don't think that
That
is right.
can't be right. It's gotta be Corner Combat 6. Has a
Definitely.
more defined tone.
It sounds right. You know, the alliteration is truly profound.
It is just how the kids, what they do with this new fabled music rap that I keep hearing about.
Indeed. It makes sense to be the title of the game because it's a name that all of the kids would be familiar with.
Absolutely, good sir. Now, Thingy, what do you think with the rating of this game? I haven't actually...
I don't know. It got such a high rating from what I've seen, but I don't quite understand why.
Honestly, I think I do. I think of all the games that came out in the last decade, I think this is the first 10 out of 10.
Do you think? Why would you say that?
Purely because, see, just like my name Carter.
That's fair. Honestly, I can see that. It has the same alliteration as your name, Mr. Corn.
Exactly. And what could be better than corn?
Indeed, cooked corn over the stove. Ah, my granny used to make it such.
Especially with the pound of butter on the side.
Indeed. Ah, what a time.
Now, but there were some good films and movies that came out this past year as well.
This is very true. What ones would you want to touch on first?
First, a show had a blasted plot twist, unexpected for the last 20 years.
What would that be, Mr. Corn?
Pokemon.
Pokemon?
The game riddled with slavery, and the main character is finally gone, which is such great news.
Good riddance. I hated him and his whiny voice.
However, there is one thing that is still wrong with the franchise.
What would that be?
Pikachu is still there.
Oh,
rodent.
that little rat. He needs to be gone from the series.
Ouch.
He is nothing but a rodent, quite literally.
Quite literally indeed. Now, there was
Can't
another...
stand his squeaky voice.
All their voices were squeaky.
Very true.
Gets my old bones shooken.
Indeed.
Anyway, let's continue, shall we, good sir?
Absolutely.
What would you like to go over next?
There was a certain movie that I went to see this year. I believe it was called FNAF.
Nah, what's this movie about? This film?
Well, this was a unruly, scary movie that
Oh.
actually has a game attached to it.
Did the game come after or before?
The game came before, you silly goose.
Okay. Was it good? Did you play the game before?
I did play the game, and I rather liked it. It was pretty good, and from what I could tell, this movie fit with the lore very well.
Oh, that's right. I think I remember this game. I think the best one was FNAF World.
Indeed, it was almost an exact retelling of that game.
Very nice to see these filmmakers from that western town, Hollywood, are doing a pretty good job.
Indeed, it is always refreshing to see they actually come out with worthwhile cinema every now and again.
Now another worthwhile cinema that came in last year. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I think this was the best romance of the millennia.
I could not agree more. The love story in this movie was just profound beyond all others.
I saw a lot of connections to Shakespearean tales, like Romeo and Juliet.
Ah, truly a classic.
death and love till the end.
Could not agree more.
Brought
The
tears to my
relationship
eyes.
between that boy and the bear was just fantastic.
Absolutely, good sir. Now, there's this thing that I've been hearing on the Western Post. Energy. Is this a new electricity? Is this
That
must babbled nuclear power?
It must be. I've heard about this. It seems to be producing an unruly amount of spirit in people. I think it's a kind of energy that's in the air that people can channel.
Is this that fabled witchcraft mana?
It might be. Do we call it energy from now on?
I think we should try to refer to this type of witchcraft. However, I would report this to the authorities to be looked into. For the
Indeed.
safety of the kids, of course.
We must be careful.
Can never be too sure. Now, I know you mentioned the word Lorne. There's this one guy I saw about Lorne. Something happened with him.
Indeed. I assume you're referring to Matt Pat?
I think that was his name. Matthew Patrick. Not very a
Indeed.
civilized name.
It's quite bumpy for a name.
Absolutely.
I heard he left his position, however.
Thank goodness.
Indeed.
Wow, what a time to be alive and share through the streets.
We finally get to see the time where Matt Pat is no longer on the fabled YouTube.
Good riddance. I'd rather see the
hated his
Queen's
voice.
inauguration.
Indeed.
That is true
However, his theory
television.
on Gregory being a robot was pretty spot on.
If you say so, good sir.
Indeed.
Now, similar to this, there's this other movie that came out, and I gotta say, it was pretty dang atrocious.
What was it called?
Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about here.
Did you see it? I couldn't even be bothered to.
I had to sit through it for my young grandson.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Dingleberry. That's so sad.
It was very difficult to sit through, my friend.
Yeah, there was a movie that I have seen about 24 times in the last year. Paw Patrol, the mighty movie. Now that is a work of art.
Absolutely, that movie was spot on. The animation in there was so fantastic.
The romance, the action, the superpowers.
Oh, it was
Psych.
so amazing. The acting between those dogs was so fantastic.
It reminded me a lot of that Western series. What was it? My Hero Academia?
Academia?
I think that's what it's called, but I'm not too sure. Secretary, could you research that for next time? Thank you. I think I should look into it next year.
Absolutely.
Alright, good sir. You know, there's some other movies.
Mm-hmm.
What was a good one that you saw? And a bad one?
A movie that I saw that was pretty... I don't have the words to describe its profoundness. I saw it at least 3 times in the theater. I was just so indulged in the story. It was the Flash movie.
Oh, yes! I saw that one too!
It was
Fabulous
so
film, indeed.
good. I loved it so much, and the characters and the CGI were so unbelievably heartwarming.
And Supergirl, however, did have a few negative tones, I'd have to say, but Batman brought it right back up.
Indeed.
Now, to counteract your point, I think this reminds me of one of the worst movies in the millennia. Guardians 3.
Oh, isn't that in the same universe as The Flash?
Yes, from... I don't remember. It's something, though. Guardians 3 was just... boring.
Yes, I agree. The emotional tones in that movie were just so dry. I couldn't quite sit through them. I had my popcorn in my lap in the theater, and I was just eating away at that, not paying attention.
I had some nice candy. It was scrumptious. Much better than that film.
Indeed. It was so boring.
Extremely boring.
Well,
Seems
I heard there was this other movie that came out. It was a big hit with the young crowd. I think it was called the Boy and Hero Bride?
yes, that CGI film from some games or something overseas. It was quite interesting. It connected a lot with everyone's emotions. From what I felt, I did watch it once in this small little town.
Interesting to hear.
Yes, highly recommend it. Hero Brian is such an interesting character. Side character that I wish we could see a little bit more of.
I could not agree more. When you have a character like this, you have to be very careful where you use it, but you can't hold him back enough.
Exactly. Such a good point, Mr. Dingleberry.
Indeed.
Now, there was this new console coming out that these hip kids play. Now, back in my day, I used an Atari. I don't know if that's what you grew up with, Mr. Dingleberry.
Ah, no, my friend. I had something called a Sega Genesis.
I believe we're rivals then, but that's not the point. The point right now is we got a Pringle can?
Pringle can? I believe this was from the studio called Microsoft?
Well, if they have soft in the name, they can't be very good. Unless they serve
Indeed.
soft cream.
I wonder if this console produces food like last year's KF console.
That would help their case a lot.
Do you think it makes Pringles?
Infinite Pringles? Would they even have the technology?
I wonder.
Straight out something from Doctor Who, a good local show, wouldn't you say?
Indeed.
But that does not seem like a great console. A great console would have to be the PlayStation Portal.
Ah, yes. Quite the console in and of itself.
What more would you ever need?
Exactly, all these kids running around with their Nintendo Switches when they could have a PlayStation Portal in their hands and truly experience gaming.
Especially phones, we can get them out of here. We should be able to call on this very soon from what I saw from the developers. I do have a stake in the company after all.
Honestly, a smart investment on your part, Mr. Cartercorn.
Not just the company though, but this device. I see this beating out every other console, including iPhone sales.
Absolutely. Why would you need a phone when you have a portal?
Of course. Oh, good sir. We've already gone so long. How much time do we have?
We only have a couple minutes left, Mr. Corn.
What would you like to discuss now?
I'm not sure.
I think this is a good time to take a nice break and have a spit of tea.
Indeed.
Refreshing, wouldn't you say?
Indeed. Love myself a spot of tea.
Did you have any biscuits with that as well?
I do actually have some biscuits right here.
Very scrumptious, what did you say?
Very scrumptious.
My secretary is telling me it's time to end. I have another meeting scheduled very soon.
Well, it was nice talking to you, Mr. Carter.
It was a great conversation, Mr. Dingleberry, and I hope to see you again real soon.
Indeed. Thank you for listening
to Gentleman's Discussion.